Hi, my name is James Domsky. I'm a photographer and journalist here at Music Scene Media, and I have the opportunity today to sit down with the one, the only, the fabulous Flamy Grant. Flamy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm so excited to be here and little feeling a little less fabulous today. Just got back from tour and definitely just in my t-shirt, but we
Hey,
can turn on the fabulousness when we need to.
exactly. I mean, the glasses are giving me like 70s Elton John, and I love it.
There we go. There's something, at least something there.
Exactly. So obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours, but
No, thank
of course, but for our viewers who don't know you, could you kind of just tell us who is Flamy Grant?
Absolutely. So my tagline, because every good drag artist needs a tagline, mine is the shame slaying, hip swaying, singing songwriting drag queen. And I that's what I do. I sing and write music and I do it all in drag. And I'm a folk artist, a gospel artist, kind of mix things up a little bit in the Americana scene. And right now I've been on tour kind of well most of the year in between recording a new record. So my sophomore record's coming out this fall, well, summer, September. And yeah, just keeping busy, making music and wearing wigs.
I love that. We'll definitely get into the new record because I've heard snippets of it and I love what I'm hearing so far. Um,
Uh,
but
yeah.
first kind of question I have is what made you go the flamey route of the drag queen and break into that? Because your music stands alone as itself. What made you kind of go, you know what? I'm going to play these amazing songs, but also do it in drag.
Thank you. That's yeah, you honor me. I I've always done music in some way, shape, or form. I wrote my first song when I was 9 years old, and um, I, in my early 20s, I was kind of doing the singer-songwriter thing. This was before we had a lot of the tools, that we have today, the just even, internet tools and things like that. And it was just hard, it was just tough. I was in San Diego, and uh, I just found it, pretty difficult to do while also, working the day job and doing all that. So I kind of just put all of my energy for years into church music. I grew up in the church and I was a worship leader for a really long time. And so for me, I was kind of just getting my musical fix by doing music on Sunday mornings for the church. And I did that for a long time while still kind of writing songs. Sometimes it was, songs I was writing for the churches I was involved in. Sometimes it was just still the more personal stuff. But I just I didn't do singing like the singer-songwriter thing for years. And then I got back into it at about 2014. I met a very good friend of mine now. Her name's Haley Hill, and she's a, a rapper from Sonora, California, a little white lesbian rapper, and we just hit it off, and we started a duo called Girl Boy. And she raps, I do the hooks. We write together, and we did that for a few years. Again, fully on as our side hustle kind of thing. We both had day jobs, so it was the thing we did when we could. Um, and so that's all background and context, and then I've just I'm queer. I love drag. I have loved drag for a long time and had dabbled in it a little bit, but never had time to consider it seriously because of everything else, the day job, the church music, the bands on the side, that kind of thing. So it was a thing I had done like at Halloween or at house parties, but never seriously until pandemic happened. And then I had all the time in the world. And so I spent those early days of sheltering in place just kind of hanging around watching YouTube makeup tutorials and practicing in my bedroom and really just kind of doing it for myself and having a good time with it. And then it it was I don't know what moment it all clicked for me, but there were just kind of a series of events with like some things going viral on the internet, um, doing drag live streams from my house during pandemic. I lived with a couple of other musicians, and we would do these. We called it Heathen Happy Hour, just like every other artist during pandemic was live streaming and playing music. So we were just singing songs to 30 friends on Facebook, but I would show up to those in drag. And eventually I was just like, this feels like something, this feels like all of my favorite things kind of put into this one package, this drag persona, this drag character who's really just kind of an extension of me. I don't see Flamy as really very separate anymore. It's just kind of, she's my life now. And so yeah, it just snowballed into well, I'll record a record as Flamy, and we did that, and it had a little bit of success, and so now it's just what I do full time. I was able to quit the day job, and I travel around and I sing my songs in drag.
Love that. In the Christian music industry, you're kind of a trendsetter. You're kind of a trailblazer, I guess we can say, with this.
Some might say that, others would say a complete pariah and outcast, but yeah, depending on your perspective.
Which,
Yeah.
which actually leads me into my second question. One of our actual mutual friends, Derek Webb. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love Derek. Derek once said, and I'm probably misquoting him partially, but he said that putting the label Christian on something is just a marketing tool. And
Yes.
so I would hate to say that you're the first Christian drag queen
Right.
because there probably have been others. It's just you're the first one to be this widely recognized. And
Yeah.
my question that goes with that is how has the reception been from the church's standpoint, from CCM standpoint? Because obviously you're breaking down a lot of barriers. Semler is breaking down a lot of barriers too. You guys are really
Yep.
kind of leading this queer movement into the CCM world. How's the reception kind of been, and how has it kind of been for you to step into that role?
Hmm. Wow. Well, yeah, first of all, we love Derek Webb, right? And I love that quote as well. That quote for me has been really helpful because I have hangups around the word Christian, just like most people of conscience, right? Like it's hard to use that word without also adding, 8 bullet points underneath it to immediately kind of qualify and say, well, I'm Christian, but I'm this kind, right? Like don't associate me with the mainstream evangelical political Christian movement, right? Because that's everything I kind of stand against. And so uh the reception has been across the board. I mean, the really public stuff that people might know about, is that there have been some really big names like Sean Foyt and um, yeah, John Cooper of Skillet and some of these folks who have not taken my presence in Christian music well at all, and really see it as they see me as a well, I don't want to speak for them. They've spoken plenty, but the way I feel as though I'm being presented in some circles is that like I'm this um harbinger of the end of like good old traditional Christianity, which is just so funny to me because there's nothing traditional about American evangelicalism at all in the 2000-year history of the Christian faith. Like we've gone down a crazy path over the past, you know, 40 years in this country. And that's really what so in that regard, I am reacting and responding to that version of faith in this country and trying to stand up for queer folks, obviously, and help folks recognize that like it's not a an invasion of Christian music. It's not a I'm not like I'm not yeah, I'm not invading this thing, right? Like I was born and raised in it. I loved Christian music growing up. It's all I listened to. It's all I was allowed to listen to. But even then, it's what I chose to listen to as well. Like I am a kid of 90s CCM pop. Like I mean, that's why I named myself Flamy Grant, obviously, like Amy Grant was my diva. And so I have a deep a biting affection for that music that I came up with. And what's sad is that queer folks have long been asked to stay silent in Christian music. I'm Semler and I are definitely not the only queer people in Christian music. It's just that we're a couple of the only ones who are vocally out and proud about it, right? Like that's what's been amazing to me in this little journey is discovering how many folks are out there on the sidelines or just kind of working in the background or just not talking about their um, either their identity, their queer identity, or their allyship. There are so many people who are, will whisper in my ear and say, "Oh my gosh, we're so glad you're doing what you're doing in Christian music." And I'm just like, "Well, where are you? Like, what, why are you being so silent?" And I get it. Jobs are at stake, livelihoods at stake. But I guess that's the blessing of kind of already being out, being a drag queen. I have nothing to lose. Like I'm just here to kind of take up that space and give queer kids something to look at in Christian music that maybe represents um, a future that they could aspire to. Because that's what I didn't have growing up was any representation of queerness in Christianity whatsoever. At least positive representation. I was only told despair, sadness, isolation. That's all that awaits you as a queer Christian, and it's not true. And so I get to be kind of the living proof of that, along with Semler and a handful of others who are, yeah, doing this work, this weird work.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think do you think that the reason a lot of people haven't come out either with their identity or their allyship is fear of retribution or something like that? Because when I think about it, honestly, the first queer Christian artist I think of, and I'm going to date myself here, is Ray Boltz.
I'm
Uh,
on Ray Bolts. Yes, I was hoping you were going to say Ray.
Love Ray all those years. And then he was top of the charts in the 90s, early 2000s. He comes out as gay, and all of a sudden it's like, shame Ray Boltz. Nope, we're not playing him anymore. And
Yeah.
now you don't hear it. Do you think the reason people in the Christian industry are kind of afraid is because they're afraid of getting the Ray Boltz treatment?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, that is a like the example was set, right? Like if you come up in Christian music, if you it's like I said, it's different for me kind of having already been out and deciding to make a Christian record as a drag queen. Like I'm not risking the loss of a career that I already had. But for a lot of people, they are. And that's a terrible pressure to put on people, forcing them to be inauthentic and then perform as though they are authentic. Like that's the whole business of Christian music is to showcase, right, this Christian life that is supposed to be one of liberation and freedom and joy and peace. And and you're anything but that if you're a closeted queer Christian artist. Your life is none of those things. And so what a horrible pressure to put on people, and really that just give them that ultimatum of like you said, very public shaming, or you go by the rules as we have set them and you can have your career. It's a tough decision, and I'm so thankful for the ones who have chosen to step out and risk it, and they have lost, Jennifer Knapp, Ray, Trey Pearson, Marsha Pino Stevens. Like there are quite a few who have taken that step, but none who are operating within the um gate kept, for lack of a better word, the gate kept confines of the Christian music industry, right? We're all kind of having to do our thing independently, or with teams that aren't really certainly not on any Christian label. Like that remains to, we haven't seen that happen yet. And so I think that we do need somebody on the inside of this industry to take that first step and say, I'll sign the queer Christian artist, or I will be I will come out and or we'll be the record label that is affirming, and we don't have that yet. So until we do, the work continues.
Yeah, it's very saddening to hear, which kind of leads me into, you have a new song coming out on Friday, uh, don't you? Called Last Days.
I do. Yep.
Uh,
Um,
Last Days kind of is is that your I have a dream speech, that this is the last days of all this?
yeah, yeah, it is. So I already mentioned Sean Foyt. Last days is a phrase he used in a tweet to kind of shame me and Derek Webb and a couple others. Jen Knapp was in that photo as well. Um, uh, for doing Christian music as a drag queen. He said these are truly the last days. Like, look at what we've got. Look what we've got going on. And so my friend Karen Thurston and I, who co-wrote this song with me, we just thought it would be a good bit of cheeky fun to play with that phrase. And yeah, if these are the last days, let's talk about what that should be. Because first of all, baby, y'all have been calling for the last days as long as I've been alive. Like that was the cry in the 80s as I was a kid. And we're still waiting for that glorious rapture that's supposedly coming. But I think that there's another way we can look at the last days, and let's say that, yeah, maybe these are the last days of all of this bigotry, all of this gatekeeping, all of this forced conformity, and maybe we actually could be a faith that liberates, and genuinely liberates and genuinely lets people um, be their full divinely realized self. And that's kind of what that song's about. So yeah, it's a little bit of a clap back to Sean and to that whole idea, but it's a sincere one.
Yeah, and I felt it when I finally got to hear it. I'll be honest, first time listening, I went, "Oh crap, you're not holding back any punches on this one." I wrote down one of the lines where you said, "These are the last days of mediocre men with no imagination whatsoever." It's
Yeah.
it's a song where, at least from my perspective, where you're taking shots, but you're also singing a song of freedom. Like you say in the song, freedom can only begin when the last days end.
Yeah,
And was that,
truly. I mean, sorry.
oh, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, so was that your intent, that like last days need to end so freedom can kind of come?
Yeah. Yeah. uh no one's free under these systems of patriarchy and white supremacy. Even the people benefiting the most from them, cis straight white men are not free under patriarchy. They have a lot of privilege and a lot of ability to roam around the world freely without fear of retribution or anything like that. But they're still, most men, like very few men are James Dean, right? Like most men are still performing this version of masculinity that they feel they have to perform in order to be accepted by their peers, by society, whatever. So like none of us are actually free under these systems. We're all just we're constantly, code switching. We're constantly assessing how we fit in. And that for me, that's been the gift of drag. Like the drag is such a big. Can I cuss on this?
Oh,
Yeah, it's such a big fuck you, to all of that. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to conform to any of your expectations or any of the unspoken rules of gender and even being a drag musician, like it kind of goes even further into just the music industry. And like this there's no one, well, Chapel Roan is of course now like a very amazing famous, like it's basically a drag queen doing music, but like that, like even in the music world, like it's doing something that is not just unexpected, but really like there's still taboos around all of this stuff, right? And so it was very intentional with this song to, yeah, call out the mediocrity of such a limited vision for what humanity should be, instead of thinking about what we can be. Like we have imaginations, we are like our whole industry is a creative industry. Why are we limiting ourselves? Why are we limiting our creativity and putting boxes around who we can be and what we can do with our art? So yeah, that's a pot shot, for sure, but again, it's a sincere one. It's like, I'm so tired of people saying you
yeah.
can't do that, when I very clearly am doing it in the moment and thriving and living my best life. And uh it's just again, yeah, we keep doing the work until enough people have kind of like had their minds transformed, and opened up. So
Which, I actually took a screenshot of Sean's tweets between you and Derek, and it was hysterical to me. Sitting on the outside looking in, I was just laughing the whole time, because you actually don't know that in 2020 I was Sean Foyt's photographer. Um,
are you serious? Wow.
so I photographed three album covers for him,
I
and
did not know this.
yeah, and he and I got into it big time the last time I photographed for him, and never again. But I took a screenshot. It's funny because he tweeted at you, and I quote, "Well, good for you, well, good for us. Hardly anyone listens or cares what you do." Obviously, that's not true because we're sitting here right now. Um, but it's kind of funny to me, you know. But I'm glad that we're kind of getting this rallying cry of freedom of, you know, let swing the church doors open,
Yep.
and let let freedom reign, let freedom in, because that's the whole point. Um, do you have any other shots on this new album? I believe your new album's called Church, coming out in September. Do you have any
Yeah.
other kind of shots, or is this the one like I'm gonna give him one shot and then I'm just gonna forget about the rest on the album?
Yeah, well, that's it's interesting that you kind of bring up that interplay, because the last thing I ever intend when I'm interacting with a troll online, someone like Sean online or anything like that, I never actually, it's never about changing their mind. Like that's just that's an exercise in futility. You don't argue with people on the internet, in, in the comment section thinking that you're going to win. Like everybody wants to win in the comment section. For me, those interactions and that cheeky kind of those comebacks and all of that, it's purely so that anybody else who's reading those exchanges can just feel the air being taken out of the pompous, the bravado, all the um yeah, just the bluster of it all, like I just want, especially like queer kids who are still in environments where these ideas are being forced upon them, where they're being groomed literally, you know, by evangelicalism, by high demand religion. I want those kids to see someone standing up to these bullies and just like taking the wind out of their sails. And that's really all it's about for me. It's not, I don't care what Sean's response is. I don't care what any internet troll's response is. I just care that um, kids know that there is a hopeful future for them and that it's not always going to be the way it might be right now for them. So yeah, that's what that's about. And yeah, I mean, there are a couple actually in the first single in Sparkle, there's a couple little references to what happened with Sean. I think there's a line. Um, if you think shaming me is the way, you might want to think again, because your words could ricochet and make me famous, which is kind of exactly what happened, right? Like Sean tweeted that well, good thing no one cares about you or listens to what you're doing. And it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was like, well, okay, you just challenged a drag queen, so good luck. And clearly that's a thing that's forever going to be associated with his name, as he's the person who helped put a drag queen on the Christian charts. So hope that worked out well for you, Sean. But so yeah, there's a couple shots like that, but there's also a lot of, I mean, I'm a drag queen, so there's like a level of cheek and humor and all of that to what I bring, but I'm also a songwriter, and I was a songwriter for a long time before I was a drag queen. So I mean, some of these songs are just they could be sung by anybody. They not by a drag queen. It's just like my lived experience as a queer person in the church. Um and some of it is a I mean, it feels maybe a little arrogant to talk about it this way, but we have whole books in the Bible dedicated to prophets who like did crazy shit and stood in their town squares and called out the systems, the religious systems around them for all of their hypocrisy and all of their injustice. And that's just kind of how I see my drag. That's just how I see my art. I didn't set out to be like an activist singer songwriter, but I'm queer in America in 2024, so by default I'm an activist. And so I've just kind of embraced that and run with it, and said like I'll be the modern day prophetess, standing in drag in the town square, like pointing out this hypocrisy, pointing out um the the horrible treatment that Christianity has put its queer kids through. And so there is a lot to say and that's why I titled the album Church. There's a lot on it that's talking about yeah, just that experience as a queer person in the church. So it's some cheeky pot shots, but then it's also a lot of like really sincere, like even some hope, even some hope for like what could the church be? Could it be a force for good in the world anymore? Like, is that a possibility? And and I mean, spoiler alert, I do believe that it still could be. Uh, I interact all the time. I've played 40 churches over the past year. Um, and these are obviously affirming, wonderful spaces that are trying um to make the space safe for queer folks and for everybody. Um, so I've seen firsthand like people all around the country who are doing that work, and so it's really just trying to give voice to that hope and that desire.
Awesome. Yeah, I I have to agree. I so I actually had the chance to see you in December at Richmond, Virginia.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
it was I believe it was your first show where you had a protester outside.
That
Uh,
was.
um, I'm definitely looking forward to this album. One song in particular that I'm looking forward to is I believe you wrote a response in a way to Good Days. And I know you played it in Richmond. I'm definitely
Mhm.
looking forward to that. It sounds like it's going to be a fabulous album, I guess is the best way to say it.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really proud of it. We had just the best musicians working on it in Nashville. My producer Ben Grace produced the first record, and his game's only gotten better since then. And so I'm really really proud of it, really happy with it. And yeah, that song that you're referencing that I played in Virginia, I've been ending most shows with kind of the twofer of Good Day, which is the one that hit #1 on the Christian music charts, and then this new song which is called If You Ever Leave. And it's kind of it is the sort of the balance to Good Day, because Good Day is a song that is for folks who are staying in the church and taking up that space as queer people and representing and doing that work. But I don't believe that that is every queer person's job. Um, the church is a hard place to be queer, and I think that uh, it's really a volunteer role if you want to stick around and do this work. And I think that I just wanted to kind of balance that message with another song, which is If You Ever Leave, which will be the next single, by the way, after Last Days. It'll be the final single before the album drops, coming out probably uh August, maybe early September. But uh it's just a song that I mean, Sparkle and Last Days are both very much the cheeky, like kind of the pot shots we've been talking about. This one is a very sincere, let's talk about what it is to be queer in the church and whether it's worth sticking around as a queer person. So it's a ballad, and much more, yeah, there's not really a joke to it.
We kind of need that sometimes. It's the hope
Yeah.
you're about, but it's hope for the person, not necessarily for the church itself, but for the person, which is what's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like we're kind of running low on time, but do you have anything else you would like to say to your fans, our fans, anything in particular?
Just, I mean, well, a huge thank you to you for having me. This is really cool to get to talk about new music. It's been a long time coming, so it's you do kind of a period of press where you're talking about your record, and by the end of it you've written new songs and you're already thinking about the next thing, and you're just tired of talking about the old stuff. So I'm really excited to be at the start of of a new kind of round of getting to talk about these songs. So thank you for giving me the chance to do that. But yeah, I'll be on tour off and on for the rest of the year. We'll be doing specifically a fall tour, a full band fall tour to support the new record. So those dates will be coming out soon, and I love to see people at shows. That's where, to me, that's the heart of it. That's where the real magic happens. I'm very active on the internet, but I don't take the internet nearly as seriously as I do my live shows and meeting people. That's what I love. So hope y'all will come out and see a show, and yeah, get the record when it comes out. I hope we can make just as much of an impact as we did last time with this one. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I know our listeners are going to be looking forward to it. I have written down, correct me if I'm wrong, September 27th, around there.
that's the target date. Yeah, may change, but we're looking good. We're just about finished with all of the mixing, so we should be good.
Awesome. Well, check out Church when that comes out in September. Check out Last Days when it comes out on Friday. And again, thank you, Flamy, for this time.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it.